There's a moment every man reaches, when the chasing ends and the silence begins. She thought you'd always be there. She thought pulling away would make you chase harder. But this time, you chose stillness, not to punish her, but to protect yourself. And in that stillness, she begins to feel what she once ignored. This isn't about games. This is about power. The power of walking away. The power of not explaining. The power of becoming the man she can't ignore. Let's begin. There's a breaking point every man reaches. Not the kind that ends in anger or noise. The kind that's quiet. Still, it's the moment you stop chasing. You don't text her anymore. You don't check if she saw your story. You don't rehearse what you'd say if she ever called. It's not because you don't feel. It's because you felt enough. Enough to know this. Chasing someone who's not chasing you back is a slow suicide of the soul. And when you choose stillness over pursuit, something in you begins to shift. You start remembering who you were before you forgot yourself for her. And suddenly, silence becomes your new form of communication. Not to punish her, but to protect you. The absence you give her isn't revenge. It's clarity. It's dignity. It's you saying, without saying a word, you are no longer the center of my gravity. Stillness isn't emptiness. It's the rebirth of self-respect. What kind of man unravels at the absence of a text? What kind of man loses his frame because she didn't reply? That's not a man. That's a boy still waiting for validation. He should have learned to give himself. A man doesn't panic when ignored. He doesn't spiral when she grows cold. He observes. He withdraws, not to play games, but because his energy is sacred, and he's learned not to pour it into black holes. You see, chasing is loud. It says, I need your approval to feel worthy. But walking away, that's thunder and silence. That's gravity. That's power without the need to explain. She expected you to beg. She expected you to unravel. But now she faces a question she wasn't ready for. Did I lose a man who had the strength to walk when I expected him to crawl? A man who knows his worth walks. A boy who doubts begs. When you stop reacting, the entire dynamic shifts. She was used to being chased. Used to seeing her phone light up after she pulled away. But this time, there's only silence. That silence, it's not passive. It's intentional. It's the loudest thing she's ever heard. Because silence from a man who once gave everything is a funeral bell for what she took for granted. She scrolls. She waits. She tests. But nothing comes. And in that nothingness, she begins to feel what she never allowed herself to feel before. Doubt. Doubt that maybe, just maybe, she misjudged you. Doubt that the man she assumed would always be there has actually found peace elsewhere. And peace, to the ungrounded, is terrifying. You don't have to block her. Just stop being available and watch the gravity shift. You'll be tempted to reach out, to check her story, to like that post, to respond to that breadcrumb she left just to see if you'd bite. But that urge isn't love. It's trauma. It's habit. It's the ghost of a version of you that needed her attention to feel alive. Kill that ghost. Let him die. And bury him with a version of you who overexplained, who overstayed, who overgave. Because what's rising in his place is someone solid, someone steady, someone she can no longer manipulate with absence. When you learn to sit in discomfort without reaching for her, you become untouchable, unshakable. And that's what she never saw coming. Not your anger, not your pain, but your peace. Discipline is loving yourself enough to stay silent when chaos tempts you to speak. There's a power in stillness that most men never discover because they're too busy trying to be seen. But what if I told you the man who doesn't need to be seen is the one who's watched the most? Because silence doesn't go unnoticed. It echoes. It lingers. It haunts. Especially when it comes from a man who once gave his all. She'll try to convince herself you don't matter. She'll laugh louder, post more, act unbothered. But inside, something will start to burn, not because you disappeared, but because you did it without flinching, without a single look back. And that stillness, that absolute detachment, will become the mirror she cannot escape. When you stop showing up, she starts seeing what she lost. You're not doing this to make her chase. That would still make it about her. No, this is about you. This is about turning inward, about rediscovering the man who got buried beneath all that need for connection. When a man stops seeking closure from her and starts seeking completion within himself, he becomes dangerous, not to her, but to the part of him that once begged. You aren't here to prove you were worth loving. You're here to remember that you always were, even when she couldn't see it, especially when she couldn't see it. And once you remember that, her opinion becomes irrelevant. The only validation you need now is the silence you've chosen. You're not proving you're over her. You're proving you've returned to you. They never expect you to truly go. Not emotionally, not mentally, because most men don't. Most men say they're done, but leave doors half open. Not you, not anymore. You didn't just walk away. You burned the map. You stopped orbiting her world and built a new one without her at the center. And the beauty of that? She'll feel it in every unanswered message, in every void she can't fill, in every echo of a presence that used to be hers, but now belongs to you. She didn't lose you when she left. She lost you when you found peace in her absence. True detachment isn't coldness. It's the fire of finally coming home to yourself. But the silence you choose won't go unnoticed forever. She'll test it. She'll test you. And that's where most men fail, not in the silence itself, but in the moment it's broken. The real test doesn't come when you're angry. It comes when you're calm, when you've gone days without thinking about her. Then suddenly a notification. Her name. A hey. A like on an old photo. A harmless emoji. Nothing direct, nothing vulnerable. Just bait. And your heart, it skips. Just for a second. Not because you still want her, but because your ego still remembers what it used to need. That's the trap. That's the test. Not of love, but of control. Can you sit in that moment, breathe through the pull, and do nothing? Can you let the moment pass without reacting, replying, or retreating into fantasy? Because this is where boys break. But men stand still. The man who doesn't flinch at her return is the man who's truly gone. Her message isn't an invitation. It's a mirror. She wants to see if you're still hanging in her orbit, if she still has access, if you'll bite the hook she left dangling in shallow waters. And many men do. They mistake breadcrumbs for reconciliation. But a high-value man sees through the fog. He doesn't mistake a just checking in for, I've changed. He understands that attention without intention is poison. She may not even realize she's testing you, but instinctively, she's checking your emotional temperature. Are you warm enough to crawl back? Or have you turned cold, not in resentment, but in clarity? Because a man who no longer burns for her, that man becomes unpredictable, unreachable, and that's what terrifies her the most. You don't pass her test with words. You pass it with indifference. She's not reaching out because she misses you. Not yet. She's reaching out because she misses being chased. She misses the security of knowing you were always there. Your reactions were comfort. Your desperation, a guarantee. But now she sends a message and hears nothing back. Now she posts and doesn't see your name in the likes. Now her power dissolves, and she doesn't know what to do with that. This is where you separate the healed from the hungry. If you still crave a response, you're not done healing. But if you see the bait for what it is and keep walking, you're no longer the same man who used to chase shadows. She's not reaching for love. She's reaching for control. Don't hand it back. You may want to believe her message means something deeper. You may craft stories in your mind. Maybe she's finally realizing. But stop. That's the boy in you. The one who's still waiting to be chosen. The man in you knows better. He doesn't need interpretation. He sees facts. She left. She tested. She wandered. And now that she feels your silence, she sends bait. Don't fall into romantic illusions. Look at it for what it is, a test of your emotional discipline. If you break now, you prove her right, that you never really let go. But if you remain still, grounded, clear, that's when she begins to feel the full weight of losing you. Hope built on fantasy is just a leash you put on yourself. There's a storm that rages inside a woman when her tests no longer work, when her texts go unanswered, when her games fall flat. She starts to realize the scariest truth. You're no longer affected. You're no longer hoping. You're no longer watching. She underestimated the man you could become once you stopped needing her. And the pain she expected you to carry? You buried it beneath focus, growth, and presence. Now she wonders if she ever really knew you at all. But the man you are now, he's not waiting to be known. He's building. Quietly, relentlessly. Nothing haunts a woman like the man who healed in silence. She might escalate. She might show up where you are. Reach out more frequently. Use softness to disarm you. Don't be fooled. Some of the deepest manipulation comes dressed in warmth. It's not always a trap, but it is always a test of your frame, of your focus, of your emotional sovereignty. Will you crack just because she smiled? Will you fold because she said she missed your energy? That's not love, it's memory. And memory has no power over a man who lives in the present where his peace is untouchable, where his silence is sacred, where her words no longer dictate his reality. Her charm isn't a threat. Your craving for it is. This phase, the test, is where most men return to the loop. They respond. They explain. They reopen the wound in hopes that this time, maybe this time, she'll stay. But here's the truth. The version of you she walked away from is a version she'll always see, even if you've changed. You're not here to convince her you've grown. You're here to grow so far beyond her perception that even her memory can't recognize you. Not through revenge, not through anger, but through absolute transformation. You don't circle back. You don't reopen old doors. You build new ones with locks she no longer has a key to. When you stop chasing closure, you open the door to rebirth. And when those tests fail, when your stillness holds, that's when everything begins to shift. Not outside you, inside her. You stop watching. You stop waiting. And you start building. At first, she won't notice because she's still watching herself, still living in the illusion that she can leave and return to the same version of you. But that version no longer exists. The man who once waited, texted, worried has been replaced, not by someone colder, but by someone complete. And completion has no interest in chaos. She'll scroll through her feed one night and realize your name hasn't shown up. No likes, no comments, no breadcrumbs, just silence, not empty silence, strong silence. And in that space, something inside her cracks, because she never expected you to vanish like this, without warning, without drama, just calm disappearance. And now, for the first time, she feels it. You didn't disappear to punish her. You disappear to become someone she can never reach again. Now she's watching. Closely. She sees you smiling, but not with her. She hears your name, but not through her phone. Mutual friends mention you, but they speak of your growth, your calm, your peace. And suddenly, the man she left is no longer the man that exists. He evolved in her absence. He outgrew the cage she put him in. And the terrifying part? He didn't even look back. That's what begins to eat away at her. The question, the doubt. Did I underestimate him? Did I walk away from something rare? The regret doesn't come loud. It comes slowly, like a drip, like an ache that doesn't go away. And it only gets worse with your silence. When a man evolves in silence, he becomes the echo she hears in every quiet moment. This is a shift. The gravity reverses. You're no longer orbiting her. She's caught in the pull of your absence, and she's too proud to admit it, but too shaken to ignore it. She's checking your posts. She's asking mutuals. She's replaying what you said, trying to see what she missed. But here's the truth. She didn't lose you when she left. She lost you the moment you stopped chasing, because she mistook your devotion for dependency. She thought you needed her to breathe. Now she realizes she was never your oxygen. You were just holding your breath, waiting for clarity. And when that clarity came, you exhaled, and you walked. The moment you no longer needed her is the moment she couldn't forget you. She might reach out, more than once. I've been thinking about you. Hope you're doing okay. But it won't be real. Not yet. Because true remorse doesn't come through safe texts. It comes through changed behavior. And you, now, are no longer moved by words. You require more. Not because you're bitter, but because you become a man who doesn't trade his peace for short-term comfort. You've tasted clarity, purpose, discipline, and you're not going back. The woman who took your presence for granted no longer qualifies for the man you become. She didn't just lose the man she knew. She lost the future she never got to witness. You're not hard to reach. She just doesn't have the strength to face who you become. This isn't about getting her back. That's the old you talking. The one who thought closure came from her. No, closure came the moment you stopped needing her to feel complete. You realize that peace is not something she can give or take. It's something you build. And you built it from silence, from restraint, from all those nights you wanted to reach out and didn't. That's what makes you powerful. Not revenge, not replacement, but the fact that you healed, and she didn't even get to witness it. You healed without the apology, without the closure, without the explanation. And that, brother, is something no woman forgets. Real power is healing without needing to be seen. You were never chasing her. You were chasing something deeper. Validation, approval, worth. And now you see that everything you sought from her was already inside you. It just took her silence to reveal your own voice. It took being ignored to finally pay attention to yourself. And now that you have, there's no going back. You've crossed the threshold. You've entered the rare place where few men ever reach. Unshakable detachment. Where love is a gift, not a need. Where peace is your baseline, not a destination. And from this place, she can scream your name and it won't move you. Not because you don't feel, but because you fell enough to never fall again. You're not trying to be the man she wants. You become the man she can't ignore. You didn't walk away to make her miss you. You walked away to finally find yourself. And in doing that, you became untouchable. You don't need closure. You don't need her to understand. You only need one thing now: silence, purpose, and peace. Let her wonder. Let her question. Let her scroll in silence. Because the man who walks away with calm is the man she'll never forget. If this message spoke to you, stay with us. Subscribe for more. Not for her. Not for them. For you. For the man you're becoming.